Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. Well, there are now two special counsels. For the second time in as many months, Attorney General Merrick Garland appointed an independent investigator. This one will review President Biden's handling of classified documents.
I'm here today to announce the appointment of Robert Hur as a special counsel pursuant to Department of Justice regulations governing such matters. This appointment underscores for the public the department's commitment to both independence and accountability in particularly sensitive matters, and to making decisions indisputably guided only by the facts and the law.
Now, this announcement comes in the wake of the Biden administration revealing on Monday that the president's lawyers had discovered, quote, a small number of classified documents in his former office at the Penn Biden Center in Washington, D.C. That's the think tank Biden founded after his 2 terms as vice president. The documents, which date from the Obama-Biden administration, were found on November 2nd of last year. The White House says they notified the National Archives of their discovery that same day, and the archives picked them up the next morning. Today, the White House counsel's office disclosed the president's lawyers found, quote, a small number of additional Obama-Biden administration records with classified markings in Biden's Wilmington, Delaware garage. They say the lawyers immediately notified the Department of Justice and arranged for DOJ to take possession of the documents. Of course, and not really surprisingly, Fox News immediately jumped on the idea that these documents were found near the president's sports car.
Mr. President, classified material next to your Corvette. What were you thinking?
Let me, I'm going to get a chance to speak on all this, God willing, soon. But as I said earlier this week, people, and by the way, my Corvette's in a locked garage, okay? So it's not like you're sitting out in the street.
So
but at any rate,
was in a locked garage.
Yes, as well as my Corvette. But as I said earlier this week, people know I take classified documents and classified material seriously. I also said we're cooperating fully and completely with the Justice Department's review.
Honestly, what I wanted to say was people know how seriously I take the security of my Corvette, but didn't quite get there. The Justice Department launched an investigation after the first documents were found back in November. That will now be taken over by the newly appointed special counsel. Now, Robert Hur is a former federal prosecutor. He worked for the DOJ under ex-President Trump. In his role as principal counselor to then Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, Hur participated in a White House press conference about the MS-13 gang, which was seen by many at the time as a disturbing blurring of lines between the presidency and law enforcement. In 2017, Trump nominated Hur to be the U.S. Attorney for the District of Maryland, a role he remained in until February of 2021. All right, so the big question we are left with today is, what does this all mean? So first of all, it's clear there's some genuine questions here that President Biden and the White House will have to answer. And special counsels can be a bit of a wild card. Here's an example. Look at John Durham. Remember that guy? The special counsel appointed by Trump Attorney General Bill Barr to investigate the investigators. You know, in Donald Trump's telling, Durham was tasked with getting to the root of the Mueller investigation and the widespread corruption in the deep state. And, of course, the Durham investigation has been an absolute wild goose chase. In fact, the Durham investigation has now stretched even longer than Mueller's at a cost of at least $6.5 million. And while it has succeeded in providing a steady flow of content for Fox News, Durham has basically been an enormously wasteful dud, failing to get a conviction in his 2 most high-profile prosecutions. In that respect, I think there's kind of a comforting reality here, right? I mean, the facts will out. A thorough review does not seem like a crazy choice, given both the politics and the actual facts that have come to light. So, sure, go ahead and investigate President Biden. Let the full truth come out. Of course, this news brings the situation of Donald Trump's classified documents into greater focus. It can't not. And look, as anyone with any shred of good faith has to acknowledge, it's a distinctly different scenario, at least as far as we know the facts, right? Because the thing that made Trump's classified document story so weird, so strange, in some ways so inscrutable, isn't that he had classified documents. You can understand how that would happen. It was the engaging in this prolonged series of lies and deception and then claiming the classified documents he removed from the White House actually belonged to him, or he had declassified them with his mind. So that's the weird part of that story. He was so aggressive, so obstinate, so willful about the whole thing. Ultimately, After the government tried and tried and tried to get his documents back, the FBI had no choice but to show up at his home in Mar-a-Lago to execute a search warrant, where they found a whole bunch of documents, despite the fact that Trump's lawyers had certified under oath that there were none there. But there will be ramifications for the investigation of the other special counsel, Jack Smith, right? Because remember, Smith, as far as we know from Merrick Garland in that announcement, he has two broad portfolios. One is that case, the Trump classified documents case, which seems, pretty ripe as these things go. It's been investigated. It's been in front of a grand jury. There was probable cause to furnish a warrant. Many knowledgeable people have called that case a fairly straightforward and prosecutable crime because of the element of willfulness that's present. And then, of course, Jack Smith also has this other portfolio, which is the far graver, but probably more difficult to prosecute crime, the fact that Trump led an attempted coup against the American constitutional order live on national television. Remember that? It has always been my opinion. It has always been my opinion, consistently expressed on this show, that if Donald Trump is going to be prosecuted for anything, he should be prosecuted for that. Even if it is harder to prove, a more complicated case, because it is his gravest sin and it is his defining sin. Now, as you heard from Merrick Garland, it's not Jack Smith's job to weigh the politics of all this. It's his job to follow the facts and the letter of the law. But the politics will probably be impossible to ignore. And to my mind, if that leads the Department of Justice and Jack Smith and the rest of the country to place more focus on the most grievous sin that Donald Trump committed, his biggest crime, well, then that's not a bad thing.